Over the past few weeks, we've seen the number of positive COVID-19 cases drastically increase, especially in the northwest part of the city.
Today, we got the news that 3 wards in the city's northwest make up about a quarter of new cases of COVID-19. The city has come up with a plan to combat these startling numbers in a community that has some of the highest population of racialized residents in particular.
The government of the City of Toronto itself is also working to make sure that it is doing everything it can to help residents, of course, across the city, but especially in areas where we know there is increased spread of the virus, like in the northwest part of the city. For example, while the city doesn't administer COVID-19 testing or process the results, we are working to support community health centers conducting provincial testing where we can, and that means particularly in the northwest. We have worked to make sure that we find ways to make city space available to community health centers and Ontario Health for COVID-19 pop-up testing sites in that Rexdale and Black Creek part of the city, or for that matter, any other place where a particular location can make a positive difference in terms of accessibility to testing.
Dr. Eileen Davila says that work is underway by Public Health to bring in more information to residents on how to better protect themselves against the virus and why it's important to get tested. Dr. Davila also mentioned that this will be key for areas like Northwest Toronto that had some of the highest transmission rates, but low testing numbers.
It's widely understood that COVID-19 hits hardest in places that are low income or economically disadvantaged. And we know that racialized Toronto residents are especially vulnerable during this pandemic. Current data shows that 30% of people living in Toronto are classified as living below the low income threshold, but they accounted for 50% of COVID-19 cases. Based on data, my team determined that over the course of the pandemic so far, Northwest Toronto stood out for higher rates of COVID-19.
The city also says that with the help of the federal government, Toronto will open an isolation site for those unable to safely self-isolate, such as those who live in multi-generational homes. It's also an issue that affects many in Toronto community housing. Brandon Rowe, City News.